Meanwhile, another left-wing group doubling down on hate in the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination. Posters advertising Georgetown University's John Brown Gun Club have appeared on campus, and they read, quote, "Hey, fascist, catch." That's a reference to the message that was written on the shell casing used by the man accused of murdering Charlie Kirk. The poster told people to join the, quote, "only political group that celebrates when Nazis die." Unbelievable. Students were horrified, with some saying they feared for their safety.
So obviously I read this immediately as a threat, not only for me, but for everyone on this campus, every conservative, everyone who just does not subscribe to the prevailing leftist orthodoxy. This is a direct threat against them. It means that there are students at this campus who would want to see conservatives dead rather than engaging with their ideas, rather than facilitating a political discourse.
And Education Secretary Linda McMahon was outraged, saying that allowing violent rhetoric to fester on our nation's campuses without consequences is dangerous. It must be condemned. Georgetown releasing a statement this morning which reads, Georgetown University has no tolerance for calls for violence or threats to the university. The flyers have been removed, and the university is investigating this incident and working to ensure the safety of our community. Paul, I want to start with the breaking news. This seems to leave no doubt that this individual had an anti-ICE motive. And it seems like he could have been a copycat if he was looking at videos of Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, so that's what happens when you do this stuff and you normalize it, right? And the NYPD did 15 years of counterterrorism. And when something happens, even anywhere around the world, you're always worried about a copycat locally. So that's why when something happens, you hear NYPD is putting cars in front of mosques, NYPD is putting cars in front of synagogues, because you're worried about this kind of follow-on effect. So all I would say is a couple of things real quick relative to the ICE thing here specifically. Number one, ICE is now in a position where you're going to have to do counter surveillance. And this guy made it very clear. I want them now to be worried about their own safety. Well, you know what? I hate to say it, but he's going to get some of that because they have to do this to protect themselves. Understand that costs money, that costs resources. It could be put into the kind of law enforcement we all want to see, not only in the immigration area, but in violence. OK, this is going to be a draw from the federal government. Number two, we need a domestic terrorism law. I'm sorry, but we do. Yeah. All of our terrorism law, I got a piece coming out tomorrow on foxnews.com. So check it out if you have access to the website. The thing in our laws, it's a ghost in the machine. It has to be foreign. And everybody's worried about the fact that if we do domestic, each side's going to use it against the other. That's valid. I get that. But there's a way to construct it to guard against that. At some point, we have to stop kidding ourselves. You know what they charged Mangione with? Stalking in order to get the murder charge. That's not stalking. That is politically inspired murder. It is terrorism. We have to stop kidding ourselves. There is a terrorist group active in this country right now. It's amorphous. It's a bunch of different groups. You have Antifa, you have all of these groups. But to me, this is the equivalent right now of running, let's say, against the Soviets. There's attacks every week. We can't have this. We got to get serious.
Yeah, and that domestic terror law would give Pam Bondi federal jurisdiction, so it could make a difference in a lot of these cases. You know, Ainsley, going back to the Georgetown story and this, what some would interpret as calls for violence or at least celebrating a killer. I mean, I went to Georgetown University, proud to have gone there, Hoya Sachs. I love my time there. And it resonates to hear that was the head of the college Republicans say he felt threatened. I was in that club, and, you know, you should be able to go intern in the White House or express your political view on that campus.
It's crazy that if you don't subscribe to the left's far progressive policies, then you're considered a threat, you're considered a target, you're considered a Nazi. And with these kinds of messages, this is what gives the copycats the ideas. They think it's okay to go and silence Republicans because they feel like they're a martyr, which is similar to a terrorism organization. Now they feel they're dying to please a god, you know? So they feel empowered. I know most are not radical and going to go out and shoot someone. But this is what puts ideas in those that are radical, and that's what's scary. We saw this all kind of bubble up. I know we're going to be talking about the Atlantic and how attacks from the left are outnumbering those from the right. There's a story today. But we saw that in the summer of 2020, where you had cops being injured, you had property damage, 574 riots. Kamala went on Stephen Colbert's show and said, rioters are not going to stop. They shouldn't stop. We're not going to stop supporting them. There are very few far-left voices speaking out right now, and we need more leaders on the left to come out and say, this has got to stop.
Yep, and good for Georgetown for taking down those posters. Emily, that Atlantic piece, they said there were 5 examples of domestic terrorism coming from the left up until July 4th. So that doesn't include Charlie, that doesn't include ICE, but they concluded that this is putting 2025 on pace to be the left's most violent year in more than 3 decades.
Which is why
I said this last night, that the violence seems to be the exclamation mark on political rhetoric from the left. All that shows is how deeply the right is winning. And by winning, it just means representing the American people authentically and to their values. And it seems that the left's only response is violence right now. And to your point, the dearth of leadership that says, if everyone would come together and have just one presser, one statement released by the Democrat leadership in the House and the Senate saying, we absolutely condemn all violence, please tamp it down. And a quick note, too, about the responsibility of journalism, as you discussed the shooter of the ICE facility, how he said he was tracking the apps. Well, remember when CNN did their entire segment on that app, and it shot up and became the #1 free app on Apple of tracking ICE movements. That led to death. That literally led to death, although it was the unintended deaths. And a life is a life. I know the left doesn't see it that way, but the right does too. And I note, per our conversation yesterday about the intersect of encryption on phones, thank goodness we can get into that perp's phone.
Yeah.
So all the people that are saying, oh, it's privacy above all else, we wouldn't get that information but for being able to get in there. It's a longer conversation about that, but believe me, I stand squarely on the side of law enforcement being able to claw back that data from these perps.
Fantastic point. And Rosanna, the nation's identifying this political violence as a problem. 71% tell Quinnipiac it's a problem, up from 54% in just June. It's nearly a 20-point rise.
Also, I mean, you mentioned it with the campus that you went to, Georgetown University, to see those hate posters on display. It's not free speech on display. It's a warning shot. And frankly, I have to say, I'm so confused because Georgetown was founded by a Jesuit priest. So you would think it would be a right-leaning conservative university, but it's not like that anymore, right? I mean, you would know, you went there.
Yeah, I mean, there are certainly people from the left. These could have been outside actors that put up the posters. Right. I'm just proud to see Georgetown taking it down. I did a White House internship. I used to get up and wait by the front gates at like 5 a.m. when it was still dark. And kids should be able to do that and feel safe on campus. I don't know if I'd feel safe there today, but good for Georgetown for being on it.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.